I said no to funding Golden Boy, worked 3 jobs, graduated debt-free. Now he's broke, I'm free, and I cut ties for good while mom rages. My mom told me to drop out of college to pay for Golden Boy bro school and swanky life. I have an older brother who is 3 years my senior and a younger sister who is 8 years younger than me. I'm the middle child, and as you might guess, that's come with its fair share of issues. Years ago, when I was gearing up for my 3rd year at university, I approached my mom like any normal day to discuss the tuition fee. I had always been a diligent student, balancing my academics with the expectations at home. But that day, her reaction was anything but normal. Instead of the usual discussion about payment plans and budgets, she got extremely frustrated and snapped at me to take a semester off. This suggestion blindsided me. We ended up in a heated argument where she finally spilled the beans. It turned out they couldn't afford to pay for both my brothers and my tuition anymore. You see, they had planned their finances based on both of us graduating in 4 years. But here's the catch: my brother was supposed to have graduated by the end of my 1st year at university. Instead, he was still floundering in a transitional college, which is usually just a stepping stone of 1 to 2 years. Yet he had been stuck there for 5 years. I was floored. All my life I had maintained straight A's, focusing on my studies with the end goal clearly in sight. During our argument, I was so frustrated that I even threatened to drop out completely. To my surprise, this seemed to relieve my mom. She actually wanted me to quit university, get a full-time job, and hand over my earnings to support the entire family. Despite the emotional turmoil, I refused to let my academic goals die. I took out a student loan, secured 3 part-time jobs, and somehow managed to juggle everything. By the time I graduated in the expected 4 years, mind you, with a double major and an extended minor, I had paid off all my loans. I walked out of university completely debt-free. Throughout this time, I kept my parents in the dark about my financial struggles and achievements, though I suspected they knew more than they let on. I didn't invite them to my graduation after everything that had happened. I moved out and started fresh. There's a whole backstory about how my parents and brother abused me, but that's too deep and painful to dive into right now. Essentially, there was no real financial hardship causing these decisions. It was a clear choice they made, preferring to allocate my intended funds to support my perpetually struggling brother instead. My brother's academic journey was a chaotic one. He bounced from one college to another for over 10 years, never managing to secure a degree or certificate. Yes, my parents financed this entire endeavor. Meanwhile, my sister faced her own challenges. Initially, she didn't get accepted into any universities but managed to secure a spot after writing a compelling second-chance essay. However, she dropped out after just a year, unable to cope with the demands. Though she's quite capable, her pride has kept her from pursuing a 2-year degree at a community college, which might have been more her speed. The twist in the story came recently. Out of nowhere, my mom called me, furiously berating me for not inviting them to my graduation, which was 8 or 9 years ago. She screamed about how I was the only one in the family to graduate from university, and called me an asshole for depriving them of the chance to see me walk the stage. I was so taken aback by her outburst that I just held the phone away from my ear as she vented her rage. When she finally ran out of steam, I calmly responded with a lie, just to throw her off and end the conversation. I told her, "I don't know what you're talking about. I dropped out of university and never graduated. I have to go now, bye." And with that, I hung up. Sitting back and reflecting on this entire journey, it's clear that the path I've taken, while lonely at times, has been necessary for my growth. Insanity. It's a saga filled with struggle, perseverance, and ultimately a kind of bittersweet victory. So, am I the asshole for doing that? Growing up in a typical Asian family, there's this huge emphasis on education. It's like super important. But there's also often this expectation that the oldest son has got to be the star, the pride of the family. That was totally the case in my family. My mom really put all her bets on my older brother. She wanted so badly for him to succeed and be that source of family pride, which I get to some extent. It's a cultural thing. Really pushing for your kids, especially your first son, to do well. But here's where things get messed up. While she was so focused on him, it felt like she was willing to sacrifice my chances to shine, and that hurt. You know, it felt super unfair, especially because in our culture, having a degree and doing well in school is a big deal. So when it came down to choosing between supporting his education over mine, she picked him, even though he was, to put it mildly, not exactly killing it academically. He kept messing up, bouncing from one college to another and just not taking it seriously. Meanwhile, there I was, busting my butt day in and day out. I was juggling classes and multiple jobs to pay for my own tuition because my mom had redirected all her financial support to my brother. Every single day, as I worked those long hours after classes, I'd remember the reason why. It fueled this grudge inside me. I was angry and felt sidelined in my own family. And yeah, holding on to that grudge felt petty at times, like maybe I was just being bitter, but at the same time it felt justified. I was doing everything right, following all the rules I was supposed to, working hard and still getting the short end of the stick. It just kept piling on, this sense of being unfairly treated while he just kind of floated through without much care. Getting through university under those conditions was rough. It was more than just the physical tiredness from working and studying. It was emotionally draining, feeling like you're in this alone without the support you expected from your own family. I've got to say, the messages and support I've gotten from you all really hit me deep. It was so emotional to read through your kind words and praises. They mean a lot, especially coming from a time in my life when I felt pretty much overlooked at home. I've tried to respond to as many messages as I can, and I'm sorry if I missed replying to anyone out there. Please know that I'm super thankful for each and every one of you who took the time to reach out and share a bit of kindness. So that's my story. It's a bit of a mixed bag, some tough times, a bit of bitterness, but also a lot of growth and some unexpected support from places I never imagined. Thanks for letting me share and for being part of this journey with me. Edit to us and hey. Hey everyone, I've been blown away by your support and all the questions about my background, so I think it's time to give you all a deeper look into the whole situation with my family. This one's going to be a bit of a ride. Growing up, my brother Kai was always the golden child, the one who could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. This wasn't just about a few extra privileges here and there, it was about systematic favoritism that affected everything, including how my younger sister Ellie and I were treated. One particularly sharp memory sticks out from when I was about 10. Kai had messed up pretty badly at school, something involving a prank that went sideways. The school called our parents and there was a big meeting with the teachers. I remember overhearing my parents afterwards, not scolding him, but almost praising him for being clever enough to think of such a thing. Meanwhile, I won a regional science fair that same year, and all I got was a, "That's nice, dear," with barely a glance up from the TV. As we got older, this pattern didn't just continue, it got worse. When it came time for college, the discrepancies in how we were supported became painfully clear. I've already told you about the tuition fiasco, but it was more than that. My parents would bend over backwards to give Kai chance after chance, ignoring his constant failures, while I was left to fend for myself. This kind of neglect wasn't just financial, it was emotional and sometimes even physical. I remember one winter, Kai had taken my winter coat to go out with his friends. I told my mom it was freezing, and I needed my coat back, and she just shrugged and told me to toughen up and deal with it. When I tried to take it back from Kai, it turned into a fight, and I ended up with a bruised rib. My parents blamed me for the altercation, saying I needed to learn to share and not be so selfish. These events weren't just isolated incidents, they were part of a larger pattern of abuse and neglect that made my childhood and teenage years incredibly tough. Despite all this, I pushed through, determined to build a better life for myself. Now, fast forward to the present, and things are still complicated. My parents have started reaching out more, especially since I've established a stable career and Kai's prospects have dimmed considerably. They seem to want to mend fences, but it's hard to forget all those years of being second best, or even invisible in their eyes. Now, for the top comments before the updates, not the asshole. My heart hurts for you, OP. I'm so sorry your parents didn't fairly value your achievements while they were busy chasing an unrealistic dream about your brother. Parents are not supposed to have favorites, and being so blatant about it has had major consequences for you. I just hope you come to feel that you don't have to hide your degree because you worked so hard to get it, even in the face of pretty extreme odds, and you did it all by yourself. I hope you get to a place where you can reduce contact with them for your peace of mind. After you took charge of your own future, you owed your family nothing, especially if they abused you growing up. Congrats, OP, on your achievements. You should be proud of yourself. If you've distanced yourself from them, I would say that they are trying to get back into your good books, because you seem to be the only successful child. Ignore them, they don't deserve you. I didn't realize there was a cultural thing involved. I can see more now how she had such high hopes for her son. However, as you said, your track record was a lot better, and she should have been able to predict that you would be her best shot at graduating and fulfilling that pride she wanted. You absolutely have no reason to feel bad for being petty. In fact, I don't even really see it as being petty. You were genuinely hurt by their actions, and so didn't want them at your graduation. The fact that so much time has passed and she's now taking it out on you suggests that potentially she's feeling a bit of guilt, not the asshole. While I come from a different cultural and family background, from what I've seen in your replies to comments, I had a similar experience with my mother. She insisted I focus on my studies and not get a part-time job, and then threatened to cut my funding multiple times over petty disagreements. I'm graduating in August. Made it through with student loans and financial support from my dad. Last month my mom was asking about when I graduate and said, "You'd better invite me to your graduation." Thanks to that which shall not be named, I'm not having an official graduation, but I'm not inviting her to the mini celebration I'm planning to have instead. Update 1%. It's just another ordinary Tuesday evening. I'm at home, juggling the usual, preparing dinner while keeping an eye on my energetic toddler. The last rays of the sun are fading, and the kitchen is filled with the warm aroma of spaghetti sauce when my phone vibrates on the counter. I glance at the caller ID. It's Mom. Taking a deep breath, I brace myself and answer, "Hey Mom, what's up?" Without missing a beat, she dives right in. "Your brother's starting his own business, and he needs some financial help. It's time you contributed." I'm taken aback. "A business? What kind of business, and why am I hearing this from you and not him?" "He's been really busy getting everything planned out. Look, we're family, and helping each other is what we should be doing," she replies, her tone indicating this wasn't up for debate. Pausing, I stir the spaghetti sauce, buying some time to think. "Mom, I've got a lot on my plate right now between work and taking care of my own family. I'm not sure I can just lend out money." She snaps back, "You always say that. When are you going to start thinking about your family? Your brother needs this support." Feeling my frustration rise, I try to keep my voice even. "I am thinking about my family, Marin, our son, our future. Why does supporting the family always mean supporting his ideas? When do my needs get a priority?" The line goes quiet for a moment. Then she says, "You're being selfish, always thinking about yourself. Your brother needs this more than you right now." "Mom, I'm not being selfish. I'm being responsible. I can't fund his business venture on a whim. If he wants my help, he needs to call me himself and explain his plan. I need to know more before I consider anything." Her voice turns icy. "Fine, expect his call then, but remember, we're supposed to support each other, that's what families do." And with that, she hangs up. Shaking my head, I go back to dinner, but my appetite is gone. The call has stirred up all the old family dynamics, me being asked to step up and help, regardless of my situation. A few days pass, and true to Mom's word, my brother calls. "Hey, I heard you talk to Mom. I'm starting a tech startup, and I really need some cash to get things off the ground. So, what's the business about? Do you have a business plan I can look at?" I ask, trying to sound supportive yet cautious. "It's still in the early stages, but it's going to be big. Trust me, I just need some funds to start with." I sigh. "I need more than just trust me. I need details, projections, a real plan. You're asking for a significant investment." He gets defensive. "I knew you wouldn't believe in me. Everyone else thinks it's a great idea." "Believing in you isn't the issue," I reply. "It's about being responsible. I have a family to think about. If you send me a detailed plan, I'll consider it, but I can't promise anything." He hangs up, clearly annoyed. I'm left feeling drained, torn between family loyalty and the need to protect my own family's future. As the weeks roll on, the pressure mounts. Mom calls several more times, each conversation more strained than the last. My refusal to blindly finance my brother's vague business plan becomes a major family controversy. "Everyone thinks you're being unreasonable and cold," Mom accuses during one particularly heated call. "I'm being practical, Mom. I can't invest in something that doesn't seem secure. It's not just about what I want. It's about what's safe for my family." She doesn't take it well. "Your brother could use your support. Remember, family first." This mantra, family first, has always been skewed in favor of supporting whatever my brother wants. It's a cycle I know all too well. The expectations, the pressures, they're all too familiar. But this time, I'm determined to hold my ground. I eventually sit down and write a lengthy email to my brother, explaining my position and offering to help him in non-financial ways. I suggest resources, offer to review his business plan, and give him advice on securing funding from more appropriate channels. Days turn into weeks, and the tension doesn't ease. Mom's calls become less frequent, but more accusatory. I start to wonder if I'm indeed being too harsh, but a chat with Moran reassures me. "You're doing the right thing," she says. "You have to protect our little family too." In the midst of all this, I realize that standing up for my own family's stability might mean challenging the old family dynamics. It's a tough realization, fraught with guilt and conflict, but necessary for our future. The saga continues, filled with emotional negotiations and the balancing act of family loyalties and personal responsibility. Update 2%. It's been a hectic few weeks with all the family drama, and just when I thought things couldn't get any weirder, they did. One quiet evening, while I was scrolling through my social media, trying to unwind, I stumbled across something that made my heart sink. There was a photo of my brother at some fancy club, popping champagne and living at large with his girlfriend. The caption read, "Living the dream with my love #luxury life." This didn't sit right with me at all, considering he was supposedly scrambling for cash, I decided to dig a little deeper, calling a few friends who were closer to him to see if they could shed some light on things. What I found out was a real shocker. My brother wasn't starting any business. He was deep in debt from trying to keep up with a lifestyle he couldn't afford. He'd taken out loads of loans just to impress his girlfriend and his friends, and now he was in trouble. Armed with this info, I knew I had to confront Mom. I picked up the phone, my hands actually shaking a bit because I was so nervous about how this was going to go down. Mom, I started, trying to keep my voice steady. I found out about the debt. Why did you tell me it was for a business? There was a long pause on the other end. I could almost hear her weighing her words. Finally, she replied, her voice tired and resigned. Yes, I knew about the loans, but your brother is in a tough spot. His girlfriend will leave him if he doesn't take her on a fancy vacation to Europe. We can't let him lose her too. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Mom, you want me to pay for his vacation to help him keep a girlfriend who only wants him for his money? This is insane. She sighed deeply. I know it sounds bad, but he's your brother. He needs help. Can't you just help this one time? Helping him just this time has been happening all my life, Mom. It's always about saving him. When does it stop? When do I get to say enough is enough? I was really getting worked up now, my voice rising with every word. Mom's voice softened. I just thought, since you're doing well, you might want to help. He's family. That's exactly it, Mom. I am doing well because I work hard and I make smart choices. He needs to start doing the same. It's not fair to keep expecting me to fix his mistakes. There was silence again, this time heavy with unsaid things. Then she spoke, almost whispering, I'm sorry. I just don't want to see him fall apart. We thought maybe you'd understand. Understanding is one thing, Mom, but enabling him is another. I can't do it. I won't do it. It's not good for him and it's definitely not good for my family, I said, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. The conversation ended awkwardly, with Mom still trying to plead her case and me shutting it down. I hung up, feeling drained and a bit lonely. It's tough, you know, you grow up with these people, and you love them. But sometimes loving them means saying no. It means not jumping in to save them from every bad choice they make. It means letting them face the consequences so they can hopefully learn and grow. Sitting there, phone in hand, I felt the weight of what had just happened. I had stood up for myself and my little family, but it stung. It stung because it meant admitting that things with my brother and my mom were pretty messed up, and that maybe they wouldn't get better anytime soon. Now, I had to figure out how to move forward, knowing I'd probably have to keep setting these tough boundaries. It was going to be a challenge, but I was ready. Or at least, I hoped I was. Update 3%. So here's the deal. Things just went from bad to a whole new level of crazy. It was a typical Thursday night, and I was just chilling with Moran, watching some TV while our little guy slept, when my phone rang. It was Mom. The moment I heard her voice, I knew something was up. She sounded super upset, like she was on the verge of crying. Your brother, he's in jail, she managed to get out, her voice shaking. Jail? What happened? Slow down, Mom, I said, my stomach twisting. She took a deep breath, and then it all came pouring out. He got caught up in some really bad stuff. He started selling drugs to make money. It was just supposed to help him get out of debt, but then he got caught. His girlfriend found out and dumped him. She just took off. Now he's all alone. My head was spinning. Selling drugs, Mom? Seriously? That's what he decided to do? He was desperate. You know how hard things have been for him. He thought it would just be a quick thing, a way to fix everything fast, she explained. But her voice was full of worry. I rubbed my forehead, trying to process this. Mom, that's not just a bad decision, it's illegal. It's serious. Why would he risk so much? He wasn't thinking, obviously. He just saw a quick way out and took it, she replied, her voice breaking. Then came the part I dreaded the most. I need you to help him. We have to get him a lawyer, get him out of this. He's your brother. We can't just leave him there. I felt a mix of anger and sadness. Mom, do you hear what you're asking me? He chose to sell drugs. He put himself in this position. Getting a lawyer, getting involved in this mess, it's not just helping, it's enabling him. I can't keep fixing his mistakes. But he's family, and family sticks together, she insisted, her voice full of desperation. Sticking together and fixing reckless mistakes are two different things, Mom. What he did could land him in prison for years. And what about Moran and our son? I can't risk our family's future like this, I said, trying to stay firm. Her crying got louder. Please, I'm begging you, if we don't help him, who will? He's scared and alone. It tore me apart to hear her like this. The part of me that grew up with my brother, the kid I used to play and share secrets with, hurt to think of him scared and alone. But then I looked over at Moran and our sleeping son, and I knew I had responsibilities here that I couldn't ignore. Mom, he's got to face the consequences of his actions. It's the only way he might learn and change. I can't clean up this mess for him, not this time, I told her, my voice heavy with my own pain. The conversation ended with her still crying and me feeling like the worst son and brother in the world. But deep down, I knew I had made the right decision. I spent that night tossing and turning, thinking about everything. Moran was supportive, reminding me that we had our own little family to protect and that I was doing the right thing, even if it felt awful. Over the next few days, I struggled with guilt and worry. I kept thinking about my brother, sitting in a jail cell because of the choices he made. It was hard not to jump in and rescue him, like I had so many times before. But I knew that this time had to be different. He had crossed a line that I couldn't just erase. So that's where we're at. It's been a roller coaster of emotions, and I'm just trying to keep my head above water, making sure I'm there for Moran and our little guy, while also dealing with the fallout from my brother's choices. It's tough, really tough, but I'm trying to hold on to the belief that sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that are most necessary. Update 4: things have gone from bad to completely upside down. Remember how my brother got himself into trouble? Well, now, it's somehow become my fault, at least according to my mom. It started with a call from her a couple of days after we last talked about my brother's situation. This call, though, wasn't like the others. She was upset, really upset. Look what you've done. Because you didn't help him, he turned to selling drugs, she said right off the bat. Wait, what? How is this my fault? I was confused and a bit angry. You refused to help him when he needed you. If you had just lent him that money, none of this would have happened. He felt like he had no other choice, she shot back. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Mom, that's not fair. Selling drugs was his choice, not mine. I can't be blamed for his decisions. Well, you might as well have pushed him into it. You knew he was desperate, her voice was rising, full of blame. That's really low, Mom. I've always tried to be there for him within reason, but supporting him financially when he's been irresponsible is something I can't do. I have Moran and our son to think about, I tried to explain, hoping she'd see reason. Oh, so it's just about your little family now? What about your brother, your own flesh and blood? There was a bitterness in her tone that I hadn't heard before. Before I could respond, she continued, and just so you know, I've told everyone about how you refused to help him. They all know what kind of person you are now. You're telling the whole family, Mom? Why are you trying to turn everyone against me? I asked, shocked by her actions. Because they need to know the truth. Maybe if you feel a bit of what your brother is feeling, you'll understand, she said sharply, and then hung up. I was left staring at my phone, stunned. Over the next few days, my phone was buzzing, but not in a good way. Texts, some calls, and a bunch of social media messages popped up, all from family members throwing shade my way. They had taken Mom's side without even hearing mine. It felt like high school all over again, with rumors and sides being taken. Frustrated and feeling cornered, I reached out to my Aunt Lisa, hoping for at least one ally. Aunt Lisa, have you heard what's going on? I asked when she picked up. Oh honey, yes, I've heard. Your mom's been saying a lot, but you know I don't jump to conclusions. What's your side? She asked, her voice calm and steady. I took a deep breath and told her everything, from the supposed business investment to the truth about the debts and now the drug dealing. I just couldn't support his illegal activities, Aunt Lisa. I have my own family to protect. Aunt Lisa sighed. I understand, darling. It's a tough spot, but you're doing what you think is best for your family, and I respect that. I'll talk to your mom, try to calm things down. Thanks, Aunt Lisa. I appreciate it, I said, feeling a little relief. But the relief was short-lived. The family drama continued to bubble. Some cousins started unfollowing me on social media, and a couple of uncles sent texts that were less than kind. It was like a small war had broken out, and all because I chose to stand by my principles. Moran saw how stressed I was getting. Maybe it's time to step back a bit, focus on us, on what's important, she suggested one evening as we sat watching our son play. You might be right, I agreed, though the idea of pulling away from my family, even if they were being unreasonable, hurt. As days turned into weeks, the tension didn't ease much. Mom called a few more times, each call as tense as the last. You need to fix this, he's your brother, she'd say. And he's an adult, Mom. He made his choices. I can't always clean up his messes, I'd respond, feeling like a broken record. It was clear that setting boundaries with my family was going to be one of the hardest things I'd ever do, but for the sake of my own little family, for Moran and our son, it was necessary. Sometimes the right decisions are the toughest to make and even harder to live with, but I was learning that they were often the most important. Update 5%. After weeks of tension, hurtful words, and family divisions, things came to a head in a way I never expected. forcing me to make one of the hardest decisions of my life. It started with yet another heated call from my mom, but this time, something was different. "Look, if you're not going to help your brother, then I don't know if I can even call you my son anymore," Mom said, her voice cold and sharp. I was taken aback by her harsh words. "Mom, are you hearing yourself? You're willing to disown me because I won't support illegal activities? It's not about that, it's about family sticking together, and you've shown where your loyalties lie," she retorted. This conversation felt like a breaking point. "Mom, my loyalty is to my family, Moran and our son. I've tried to be there for everyone, but I can't support the choices brother has made, and if that means you questioning my place in this family, then maybe it's time for me to step back." There was a heavy silence on the line. I could almost hear her processing my words, weighing them against her expectations. "If that's your choice, then so be it. Maybe it's better if we don't talk for a while," she finally said, her voice a mix of sadness and defiance. Hanging up the phone, I felt a mixture of relief and profound sadness. I knew that cutting ties with my mom, even if temporarily, was a significant step, but it was necessary for the health and well-being of my own family. Over the next few days, the reality of the situation began to sink in. I informed Moran about my decision, and she supported me, understanding the gravity of the choice I had made. We discussed how this would affect our son, and agreed that we needed to focus on creating a stable and healthy environment for him, free from the ongoing drama and negativity. I also reached out to a few close family members, like Aunt Lisa, explaining my decision. While some understood, others were more hesitant, stuck in the middle of the family conflict. "Are you sure about this? Cutting ties with your mom is a big deal," Aunt Lisa cautioned over the phone. "I know, Aunt Lisa, and I don't make this decision lightly. But for now, it's what I need to do for my sanity and for the peace of our little family. I hope, with time, things might change, and we can find a way to reconnect on healthier terms," I explained, my voice steady but full of emotion. As the weeks turned into months, the space and distance from the immediate family drama allowed Moran and me to focus on our son and our future. We started planning for his upcoming birthday, focusing on the joys of our little family unit. Through all of this, I learned a tough lesson about boundaries and the complex nature of family loyalty. It was not an easy path, but it was necessary. And while I hoped that one day things could be mended, I knew that any future relationship with my mom would need to be built on mutual respect and understanding, with clear boundaries that protect the well-being of my own family. So that's where I'm at now. It's not the easiest of times, but sometimes the right decisions are the toughest ones to make. Here's hoping for a future where things can be a little brighter and family ties can be healed in a way that's healthy and positive for everyone involved.